So Sabry, if somebody is looking at a career in media buying, what should be the role or the route?
So basically, I mean, I think the fact, Rahant, I think when we now advertising is is more integrated, right? You have with digital coming in, a lot of freshers are moving into digital because I think naturally they are digital savvy, right? Gone are the days the most attractive attractive department in advertising was creative. You see abundance of people coming into a creative, but that is fading away. Now we see a lot of people coming in to media through digital. So in terms of, I guess you are asking me in terms of what academics or how to enter is the media is what you're asking me, right? So
Yeah,
basically, what we do is now we look into a lot of the university graduates who has degrees in mass communications and all that is what we, because for them it is easier to grasp what we practice, because media planning and buying, although I summed it up in about half an hour, there is a lot of nitty-gritties and technicalities, you know that. So there is a lot of science, but it's not difficult when you come with a certain level of academics. It is not difficult to grasp also.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another MBA Diary session. Today, we have an amazing personality with a very interesting topic: the importance of media planning and the buying process in advertising. To introduce our speaker this evening, I'd like to welcome Dr. Rohan Korula, the pioneer behind the MBA Diary series, to welcome our guest speaker. Doctor, over to you.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to everybody who is on 3 different platforms. One is internal, other one is on Facebook, and then you have the other one that meets all the dignitaries around the world who have been on MBA Diaries before. So we have a person which is actually the best in the industry. He's just joined the top global entity called Mullen Lowe as the Vice President and Director of LoweMedia. He's one of the country's most accomplished media specialists with strong entrepreneurial mindset. He joined JWT Media Department way back in 1998. He rose to the position of Media Director during his stint of 8 years. He was instrumental in many industry firsts during his tenure with JWT, including the setting up of the first media AOR and co-architecting the launch of the media-based television audience measurement system. In 2006, he became the architect of WPP's Mindshare, the first independent media company in Sri Lanka, Wavemaker, and subsequently launched Group M in 2012. During his illustrious stint as Chief Operating Officer spanning over a decade, he ensured Group M became the country's largest media powerhouse. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good friend of mine, an absolute professional, the Vice President and Director of LoweMedia, Sabry Haniz. Sabry, over to you.
Thank you, Rohanta. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Let me share my screen. So, so the topic given to me is the importance of media planning and buying process in advertising. I think before we get into the topic, it's important to set the context. So the structure for my presentation would be a few slides trying to size the industry in terms of the landscape, media landscape. Then I'll explain what media planning or the definition of media planning. Then I'll take you through the media planning process, then the buying the definition of media buying and the media buying process. You'll see that I think there'll be a lot of similarities in the process. So I'll take time in explaining if there is any similarities, I will take time in explaining it once and rush through when it is duplicated. So, I mean, before I get into sizing the industry, is there anyone from the advertising fraternity? I think Rohanta said there is none. I think there is, I mean, even in terms of interaction with the advertising agencies, is there anyone in the forum?
Akila, no. Aruni, Charitis is joining from Singapore. Guys, anybody in ad agencies? Fakira?
Yeah,
Doctor, we do have, sorry, if I may add. So there's somebody who has their hands up. One of our speakers from the past as well, from Siddhalepa Ayurveda.
Okay,
they're joining in.
Oh, lovely.
Okay, lovely. So in terms of the ad industry size, these are monitored. This is the monitored investment. We have sources, we have research agencies monitoring the ad spends on a regular basis. We have Kanta, who provides this service, and we have SRL as well currently providing this service. So basically what they do is each ad which appears in on the ATL medium, which is TV, radio, print, is accounted for. They obviously take the rate card rate, right? So in terms of the rate card rate or the monitored investment, we term the industry to be 161 billion as of last year. Last year, 2022 spends was 161 billion, which is a 14% growth compared to 2021, despite the country going through an economic crisis. So in terms of ad spends, we have seen year on year, we have seen a growth barring 2020. I mean, 2020 is the full-on COVID, where like the ad investment saw a 13% drop. But barring 2020, we have always seen a rise in advertising spends. The 161 billion, 89% is attributed to TV. So if you see the bar in 2022, the TV bar, which is 148 billion. Again, print and radio have seen a sharp decline, even in terms of the consumption habits. We see the physical paper losing out to the online platforms or the social handles. So Jan to March this year, the ADEX or monitored ADEX was around 48 billion. If you average it, we estimate the year ending slightly over 190 billion. That's the estimate, taking into account all the major sporting events, which is in store. Sorry. So in terms of the top advertisers, top brands, and top categories, I won't go through in detail. But if you take the top advertisers, the top 5 advertisers, Unilever leads with a 24% of the ADEX. In terms of top brands, it's Nestamalt. In terms of top categories, it's the telco sector. So in terms of the, again, now, if you take the mass market, TV leads with a 75% reach. These are reach numbers. Internet over the last 5 years has grown tremendously. Now it's 67% reach, radio 37, and print 21. Radio and print, as I said, are declining. Print at a larger pace than radio. So again, there is a higher attention given to display mediums such as the TVs, the digital medium, the mobile are the ones which are given higher emphasis. TV remains the most trusted medium, but again, depending on your audience, if it's a slightly affluent audience, you will see digital having a higher reach. So coming into media planning, coming into the topic for today, if you take media planning, the definition of media planning is the process of determining where, when, and how to run ads to maximize exposure at the lowest possible cost. I mean, this is what we do. We determine where to run the ad, when to run the ad, how to run the ad, and how economical to run it. So that's basically media planning in a very layman term, right? Traditionally, planning and buying has remained two specific, has been two specific components, but over time, you will see there is a convergence, and these two practices, to a large extent, you will see a single person carrying out these two. This is largely with the evolution of digital. I will take you through each of these processes in detail, but the media planning process starts with the media brief, right? Then it is you develop the media strategy. There is research is an integral part of the entire process. Then you request for proposals. Request for proposal is largely in terms of determining how brand fit, come out with whether the advertising you have chosen is in line with the campaign idea. Then you develop the media plan, and basically you analyze the plan. So let me take you through the detail. So if you take the media brief will largely have these elements. One is the goal and parameters of the media investment. So largely we use, here is where the media jargons come into play. RF is reach and frequency, at what reach and what frequency you should operate. So basically, if you reach 50% of your target audience, minimum 5 times. So that is reach, 50% reach at 5+ frequency. GRP is the gross rating point. We have something called TRPs, which I think most of you know, which measures the performance of a program or of any program. So if you say news is rated 8, that means news gets a TV rating of 8. Right, so that accumulative of that is the GRP, which is the gross rating point. CPRP is the cost per rating point. How much do you incur to buy one rating point? ROMI is return on media investment, which is the equivalent of ROI, basically. Then the role of communication, whether it is to build awareness, to build acquisition. So that's the role of communication. The communication idea is the campaign idea. The campaign sets out, the idea the campaign sets out to. Target audience is very important in terms of defining what target that you're aiming the campaign at. Their demographics, their lifestyle, their consumption habits, all that comes under the target audience. And then the matrix to measure success, whether, largely, advertising is not the only form, but largely it's measured with the growth of the share of market, basically, and budget. There are indications sometimes, most of the time, a client determines the budget. At times, the agency or the media agency is asked to recommend a budget. So we have many ways in setting budgets. We have the top-down approach. We have the bottom-down approach. Top-down approach is basically given your market share in a particular category. If you are to increase market share by a certain percentage, it is an assumption. Basically, there is a formula that you apply in terms of requesting for budgets or determining the budget. The bottom-up approach is basically depending on the activities and the weight in terms of GRPs and the amount or the cost required to gain GRPs, you determine the budget. So these are two ways, but there are several ways that you have to apply or set budgets, basically. So once you have given a brief, brief is the triggering point of the entire media planning process, then you come to the media strategy. So media strategy is basically an augmentation of the media brief and serves as the guide to form an effective media buying plan, which is your media schedule, basically. A good media strategy intricately understands the consumer behavior. These are what I explained to you when I was defining the TG. The consumer behavior, the consumption of media habits, and the attitude towards channels and platforms. Here, the channels can be the media vehicle itself. Platforms can be the genre that whether it's news, whether it's sports, whether it's teledramas, whether it's reality. So this is what differs as the platforms. So what over the years, a trap that largely a media agency falls into is going by numbers in depth and losing out the creativity. What stands out is how effectively. It's not about how number of it is not about how many people you reach, but how effectively you reach and whether you make a lasting impression in the audience mind. This is where the creativity comes in. Improvised ways of getting across your message to the audience. So that's the fourth point, which says media is more than numbers and statistics, and the real magic of the strategy is then the creative interpretation of data and the collective media task. So again, as I told you, media research is an integral part in the entire process, be it media planning or media buying. So we have many media research which performs the tasks of understanding the media consumption habits, the size of the audience, the demographics, their lifestyle, and the potential of each market. We have currently Cantor, which provides the media monitoring and the NDLS, which is National Demographic and Lifestyle Survey. Since another point that I want to harp on is we had till December last year, we had the meter-based TV measurement system in practice. Unfortunately, end of December, we did away with the research because the new research is costly to our market to be implemented. So right now, we have research done by SRL in terms of practice by a diary method, which is not the most accurate or reliable, because it is like the assumption of people, basically people filling out, one person fills out the diary for the entire family. So which is not the most accurate. People meter was very different. People meter, each of the members of the household had a unique ID. So they have to punch in that unique ID before sitting in front of the TV. So every movement, even if you zap between channels, that is tracked. It's a second by second tracking which was in play. So fortunately, dialogue, we have dialogue, but largely for the dialogue base at this point in time. So dialogue's rating is called the quick site. So it is done out of about 1,800 sample. So the plans are, dialogue expects this to be rolled out to the FTA or the free to air. Right now, it's the dialogue beach, which is the pay TV. So in the near future, they expect this to be rolled out to the free to air as well. So the next process is requesting media proposals from the channel. So it is largely not a one-sided affair. Usually we collaborate with the media partner in understanding their ecosystems and how the campaign idea could gel with their channel and the inventories on offer. So this process. This process is repeated in the media buying part as well. That is for a different purpose, that is to understand the inventory availability and securing inventory. But here, under the RFP process, under media planning, is to largely request, largely to see how the campaign idea fits with the channel ecosystem. Then we get into the nitty-gritties in terms of the media plan. Media plan is usually in a spreadsheet. I mean, most commonly in an Excel sheet, right? Which will have the audience, which will have the program, the duration, the timing, the reach, the frequency, the cost, goals of the media placements. Usually we have three strategies. Mainly we have three strategies, which is burst, flighting, and continuous. Burst is basically you are active for certain weeks and then you stop advertising. Again, you burst. That's basically you peak and then stop advertising. Again, you peak. That is basically the burst strategy. Flighting strategy is basically you peak, but you don't completely go off air. You maintain a minimum presence and flight again. Continuous is you more or less maintain the same pattern throughout the weeks on air. So then the process is analyzing, or basically this is the approval of the media plan, which is again most of the functions I told you are repeated. So you analyze whether the post campaign objectives were met. The pre-campaign objectives were met post-campaign. So this is where you analyze. Sometimes, I mean, now if you set 50 at 5+ as your reach frequency objective, whether you have met your post-campaign, whether you have met that reach frequency level, whether you have met the GRP levels you have set out at the launch of the campaign. This is the process which analyze that part. I think the next is the media buying. Before we get into media buying, is there any clarification you have in terms of the media planning process that I explained?
Sabri, there's just one question coming from, which is, you mentioned the flighting and burst.
Yeah.
What kind of in competitive activity do you do each of these strategies?
So basically, that's a good question. In terms of, if it is, we have, depending on the category that you operate, Rohanta, we try to adopt these. Now, if it's an FMCG, like a Unilever, they maintain a continuous presence right throughout the year, right? So, but if you take a more of a seasonal product, that is when you deploy a burst strategy, right? So even though you have 52 weeks for the year, you might decide to go on your for 32 weeks. That's when you deploy maybe like a flighting strategy. So depending on your category, the strategy differs. There's another question as well. How does social media play with the media landscape? Yeah, very pertinent question. So unfortunately, we don't have it's because social media is any published data in terms of social media that any of the research companies that put out. But if the medium, if you take the medium, it is measurable in itself. You know how many people how many people are following your site, or how many followers are there for an influencer, all that. So right now, again, like I told you, again, it depends on the category and the target audience that you target to. There are certain brands or categories which are exclusive to digital or social media, right? So and that is indicative with the increase in reach. I mean, currently there is over 60% reach. If you look, if you'd seen 5 or 6 years ago, these numbers were in the single digits, and it has rapidly grown. With COVID, it has taken off exponentially.
Thanks, Sabri.
Mohanta, can I continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah, right. So the next, media planning, I've explained to you. Media buying is the next component that I'll take you through. Again, like I set out at the beginning, you will see a lot of similarities. If you say one would be the request for proposals, media research, which is present in both the components. So those parts I'm not going to talk in detail, but I'll only touch on what is unique here. So media buying is the process of actualizing the media plan. I mean, what you have set out in the media plan, you bring it to life. That's where that's what media buying is. It'll consist, again, the process, I will explain to you the process, but it briefly consists of the buying strategy, media research, request for proposals, release orders, and tracking performance. And then it involves execution in terms of vendor bill reconciliation, campaign reporting. So it's end-to-end. This is the end-to-end functions of media buying. Again, media planning, the buying process is traditionally performed by buyers, but with the evolution of digital, media buying and planning is done by a single resource most of the time. Yeah. So in terms of the buying process, everything starts now. You review the media plan, what you've done at the media planning stage. you take a review of the media plan here to trigger the entire process of buying. Then you develop the buying strategy. Again, the media research is again an integral part here. It's a continuous process. You request for proposals, you develop the buying schedule, and then you execute the buying plan, which is the release orders. You give instructions to the media to carry out your schedule. Again, you review here. This is a duplication. I've explained to you most of these elements in terms of you review the plan to see whether the goals, budgets, timings, reach, frequency, cost, and KPIs are in place, which is like, again, because it's a carry forward from the media planning process. Then you come into the buying strategy. Now, like buying strategy is basically, these strategies are widely based on the relevant media channels. Again, with the evolution of digital, TV to digital or traditional media to digital, the strategies might differ differ vastly, right? Again, here you set out your goals, your budgets, your timing, your reach, frequency, cost, KPIs, and depending on the media vehicle, you spell out the media strategy for each media vehicle. That is where the buying strategy is. Again, the media research here is again the same media research that I explained to you during the media planning process will be deployed, because see, the research process doesn't stop at the media planning, because since it's a continuous process, and since it's a dynamic environment, you need to go back to the drawing table and see whether your strategy is in line with the current scheme of things. So that's where you revisit media research to unearth new insights. So basically, then once you've done that, you come out with a consideration set. Basically, you get, there are research which will give you throughout a list of media opportunities, whether it's the media vehicle or programs or the genres, right? So this is where the consideration set. This is in no means the final list, but this is basically a list that you could shortlist. So basically, from the thumb rule is only 1/3 of the consideration ends up in your final buy, right? So that's the. But this will give you a perspective. This will give you like a basket that you could consider for the final buy. And then again, you cycle back to research to gain new insight. Here, the request for media proposals, and again, it's a duplication, but here the task is very different. There, the media planning stage I explained to you, it is basically to see a fit between your campaign and the channel and its strategy. Here, it's largely the negotiation skills. So basically, when it comes to pricing, we have a three-layered pricing strategy. First, we consolidate the budgets of all our clients, and that's we enter into a group deal with the media vendor. For instance, let's say it's a Rupavahini or an ITN, for the lack of a better example. So you enter into a group deal. Then the second tier in terms of negotiation is you enter into a negotiation specifically for a client, because you can't offer the same rate to a client, because their like budgets may be disproportionate. right? So that's the second. So depending on the volume that like a client brings in, that's the second tier of negotiation. Third is basically the nitty-gritties in terms of placements, whether we have so many jargons, the first in whether it's the first spot of the break or whether it's the last spot of the break, whether it's an innovative buy, all that comes into when it's during this stage. Then you secure the inventory. You check whether the program that you intend to buy or the sponsorship that you intend to sponsor is available, and you secure it. And whether you can improvise, you can like bring in brand integration. You can do more than a slot placement. This is the process where you explore. Then basically it contains the program description, the available inventory, the price, the flight dates, the cost, and the ad specs, whether it's the standard. I mean, the standard was 30 seconds, but it's fading away. Now we term the average commercial duration to be 15 to 17 seconds. But then right now with the increasing media cost, we see shorter duration commercials largely. We now most of the media stations, their rate cut, the base rate is a 10-seconder. So the contents of the media buying schedule, again, is the program name, the vendor name, the start dates, what day part, whether it's we call it PT and non-PT, which is prime time and non-prime time, the cost method, whether it's a prorated cost or not, the pricing, the quantity, basically whether how many spots for a given program or given channel, and the net media cost. This is, I mean, whether it's with VAT, with taxes or without taxes. Finally, you release the schedules to the media, which is the release order. So there are processes. Once you release, it doesn't stop at that. You then perform the campaign track, whether the channels have carried out the spots according to what you have prescribed. So we get the support of third parties like Cantor and SRL to determine, not only go by the channel the TCs or transmission certificates, but to get the channel verification as well, or 3P, third-party verification, basically, before the bills are sent to clients for payment. So then basically, that's the end of the process. I mean, is there any questions that I think I finished the presentation within about 40 odd minutes, but is there any questions that I could answer?
Thanks a lot, Sabry. Sabry, if you can move out to the presentation, there are a whole heap of questions coming on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Very interesting questions are coming. The first question they're asking is, how come, if you can move out to the presentation, if you can stop share.
I'm trying to run. Wait.
Yeah. All right, lovely. The first question they're asking is, it says, one of the top media buying is done by telcos, but both the telcos are making a loss. Any thought on this?
Rohant, as you know, I mean, you're a veteran more than me. You know that in terms of media is just one element. But I think that question we need to ask from the telcos. But my experience, I mean, since of late, I was handling one of the biggest telcos, the biggest telco. We were handling the AR for dialogue when I was heading Group M. During my tenure, they always they were like recording profits. I think where they had their spends were where they're one of the top 10 spenders in the country. But I don't know the specifics for this question to answer. I need to have more details in terms of where the question is coming from to answer.
Well, Sabri, the way that I was thinking was that, which actually you're the one who taught us, is that just because you're making a loss doesn't mean that you should stop advertising.
Definitely.
Because when you stop advertising, and if your awareness level goes down in the consumer's mind, again, to rebuild that awareness level, it takes a lot of money. So it's
Exactly.
better for you to maintain the share of voice, and
Mm.
so that then once you get back to business, once you're maybe internally restructured your company, maybe you have looked at seeing as to how you could make it much more slimmer. You go through the whole restructuring process, but by the time you're done, or you're ready to run through the brand. What do you think of that, Sabri?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Rohanta. In terms of, I think the principle behind not going out of where totally. I mean, these three strategies will teach you, and that's where I told you. In terms, it depends on the category that you operate. A telco is a very dynamic category. You never go out of where when it's a telco, right? So the momentum that you put in now to like be more scientific in what you mentioned. So the effort you put in to build up an audience, like let's say you like spend you advertise for 4 weeks, and then the recommendation is that you don't stay out for more than 2 weeks after a 4 week activity. You have to be back within 2 weeks to have that momentum. Once, otherwise, the momentum dies down. You have to put the same effort you put in before to build that momentum. So that's where, like it says, 4 weeks on, 2 weeks off is the recommended strategy, but that is largely for a brand which needs continuous presence. But again, there are brands which is active seasonal. They anyway like adopt this strategy where they only advertise during this is largely ATL, but they are present on ground. But ATL, they deploy the strategy of being on air during the season, only during the season, basically.
There's another question coming up, Sabri. The question is, if my total category GRPs are around 4,000,
Mm.
4,000, 4,500, which means that my monthly GRPs are around 350. Does this mean that if I want to get a higher market share, I will have to spend a higher GRP in relation to the category than if we were just going to maintain?
Yeah, that's correct. I think this is only only an assumption. Like I said, advertising, or the promotions is only one part of that entire mix. So there are the elements that you should consider. So what we do is basically we look at the category, and in relation to the category, what is your current market share, right? And then we determine like a value to gain a percentage point, right? With media discount and all that. And then we work out a number to say to gain each market share, this is the level of spends that you need to put in. The most there are other elements in play, right? Promotion is one, as I said, is one aspect. So my recommendation is to go with a more bottom-up approach where you line up your activities, and depending on your activities, whether the kind of treatment that your activity needs, maybe a launch would needs a slightly more different treatment than a maintenance, right? Depending on those factors, you arrive at a GRP, and then GRP, then you can work out the spend as well. So that is my recommended strategy, is to go with a bottom-up approach than a top-down approach.
Sabry, what do you think should be the mix between traditional media and social media when it comes to an FMCG brand?
Good question, Rohant. Again, for an FMCG is slightly different. I would say, I think at least 20 to 25% should be spent on digital when it comes to FMCG. Within the traditional mediums, you can, because TV is the most trusted medium, you could decide whether you need all three. I mean, because print is clearly declining, but there are certain categories where when you want to detail out technicalities, print comes in handy, right? When it comes to radio serves more, it has the endorsement power, it is more frequent, it's tied with brand activations. So radio is more useful when you deploy a strategy of that nature. But to answer your question, roughly about 20 to 25% of your mix should be on digital or social media, digital basically.
Sabry, is it fair to say that the 161 billion that was spent last year maybe slightly inflated, because there might be so many contra deals happening? And what would your judgment be the actual value of the industry?
Yeah, Rohant, I'm not sure whether you missed it. In that slide at the bottom, there was the assumed actual rate as well. So 161 billion, you're right, it is highly inflated because everything is monitored, even a channel trailer. If your brand is linked to it or brand is attached to it, that is captured. So our assumption is a 70% discount on that. And if I'm not mistaken, the real value or the real figure, the actual figure, it was in the region of 45 to 50 billion last year.
It's so low, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So the 24% of the top advertiser is based on the 40 billion, or is it on the 161?
161. The everything was based on the monitored addicts, because sometimes it was basically the fact that TV is 89% of that spend, and TV is largely discounted. Print is not much, so that's the reason a heavy discount factor is being applied.
Okay. So Sabry, if somebody is looking at a career in media buying, what should be the role or the route?
So basically, I think the fact, Rahant, I think when we now advertising is is more integrated, right? You have with digital coming in, a lot of freshers are moving into digital because I think naturally they are digital savvy, right? Gone are the days the most attractive attractive department in advertising was creative. You see abundance of people coming into creative, but that is fading away. Now we see a lot of people coming in um, to media through digital. So in terms of, I guess you are asking me in terms of what academics or how to enter is the media is what you're asking me, right? So
Yeah, what is
basically,
the
what we do is now we look into a lot of the university graduates who has who has degrees in mass communications and all that is what we, because for them it is easier to grasp what we practice, because media planning and buying, although I summed it up in about half an hour, there is a lot of nitty-gritties and technicalities, you know that.
yeah.
So there is a lot of science, but it's not difficult when you come with a certain level of academics. It is not difficult to grasp also.
Thank you very much, Sabri. You have taken almost 45 minutes of your time, almost touching 1 hour. But before you go, Sabri, since you've been very strongly linked to business, starting from your JWD days to Mindshare, and of course, you see the reality, the way reality has to be seen the closest, because you see the real companies who spend money because they find that they have to keep their brand alive by engaging the consumer. What is your advice, Sabri, to a youngster studying masters, uh, on how, given the current environment that we are living in, which is very challenging? What is your humble advice to a youngster?
I think, Rohant, I think this is my opinion on it. I think from person to person, it might differ. I mean, it's sad. I mean, at this juncture, like where most people are up to leave the country, and that's where we see a huge brain drain. But I feel perseverance is the way to go. I think I think things will improve. There is a better prospect, better career, and here in Sri Lanka. And then I think I mean we have seen these ups and downs. I would say I think if people can put in their best effort, things will improve very soon. Is my advice. So I'm a person who has, I mean, even though I got a lot of opportunities, I decided to stay back in Sri Lanka, and I have risen to this position. Again, this is my opinion. Person to person, it might differ.
Sorry, Sabri, I couldn't ask you this question before. Do you feel that ChatGPT might replace a media buyer?
No, Rohant. I think there is a lot of hype. I mean, you know that we have at Malalo, we have this tech arm called low tech. There is a lot of AI coming in, but what it misses is that human touch. I mean, when it comes to human touch, there is the human touch cannot be replaced by AI. But AI, we need to embrace technology. That is very important in our line of work, or any line of work. But it's can go only up to a certain extent. That human intervention is a must.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The head of Malanlo Media, he's also director. Uh, Fantastic having you on board and sharing a few thoughts. Thank you so much, uh, ladies and gentlemen. Sabry Hanif. Ruth, over to you.
So, Mr. Sabri, thank you so much. You have taken time out. You are extremely busy. We are aware of that. And you've shared quite a wealth of knowledge. We really appreciate you taking time to address our MBA students And not only our MBA students, so we've had on board in the audience today on the platform, former speakers as well as industry partners. So your knowledge that you've shared was not restricted only to our students. So with this, I would also like to thank everybody who logged in to this session, our IT team for the technical support. And before we wrap up, a reminder, as always, that at AppBit we have a very strong internship program. And if you do have any opportunities in your company, do send it our way. And with this, I would like to wish everybody a good day, good afternoon, a good evening from wherever you're joining in.